On. With that kind of mellow music coming in here, Jody, everyone's going to just like come in and just like, hey, just kind of chill, they're going to sleep. We need the pump-up music. We need Eye of the Tiger when you walk in here, mate. Not that kind of chill music. Hey? Eye of the Tiger is what we're after here. Okay. So, we've met our new cases, yeah? We've met our new cases. We've met. When I say genitive, you say. Oh. And we've met our dative case. And when we see dative, we're going to think 2 or 4, right? Yeah. Nominative, subject, accusative, object. Great. Excellent. We've got all that down pat. That's exactly what we want to get our head around. And trust me, getting that right and listening to me rather than your natural instincts that just say, let's just run in and do it. Actually taking the time, stop, step by step, follow the steps, follow the procedure. Look at the case of each noun and let it tell you how to translate it, what role it's going to have in a sentence. That's what you want to do, all right? That's what you want to do. Otherwise, you're always going to get it wrong. Well, almost always. But yesterday we saw this table. Remember this table? Every Greek noun fits somewhere on this table, yeah? Every Greek noun fits somewhere in this table. And remember, they're just categories. Masculine, feminine, neuter, first declension, second declension, third declension. It's just a way of gathering together all the nouns that behave the same way. That's all we're doing here, yeah? We're getting all the nouns that behave, let's say, like logos. Oops, wrong way. Everyone that look like logos, all the nouns that behave like logos, we're going to get them together and we're going to put them in this group here. And to help us, we're going to label them and we're going to tell them, we're going to say they're the second declension masculine nouns, right? Because they're all the nouns that behave like logos, right? That's what we're going to do. That's all we're doing in this table. Remember, we could change the labels, we could call them whatever we want. The cat, fish, dog nouns and the red, blue, green nouns. What doesn't matter? Right? They're just labels that say this noun, if it belongs in this box, behaves exactly like logos does. Right? Okay? So, just to remind you, just to keep repeating, just to get into your head, you don't just need to know that angelos means angel. You need to know that angelos means angel and that it belongs here on the table. That it's part of the logos box, right? It goes in that group and it behaves just like logos does. You need to be able to play pin the noun on the table, right? Whatever noun you've got, because every Greek noun belongs somewhere on that table, whatever noun you've got, you need to know what box it belongs to, yeah? Now, we've only met one box so far, logos, okay? That's not going to cut it, okay? We need to meet a few more boxes, right? And that's what we're going to do now before lunch. We're going to fill out a few more of these boxes and meet a few more of these nouns. And the first one we're going to look at is the second declension neuter nouns. And our favourite second declension neuter noun is ergon. Ergon is our favourite second declension neuter noun. And ergon means work, right? Work, work, work. Ergon means work. Now, last night you learned a whole stack of vocab words. You did learn a whole stack of vocab words last night, didn't you? From chapter 3. Well, you tried. Yeah. Okay, cool. We're working on it. We're getting there. From chapter 3. So if you turn to page 41. Page 41. These are the vocab words you looked at last night. Page 41, a little bit down from the top, you've got 10 neuter nouns like ergon. You with me? You see everyone's on the same page here? 10 neuter nouns like ergon. What that is saying, what Duff is saying to you there, is that all of those 10 nouns belong in this box on the table, right? They all behave exactly like ergon behaves. So you don't just need to know that ploion means boat. You need to know that ploion means boat and that it belongs there on our table. Yeah? It would go in that box in the because it behaves exactly like ergon. You with me? Am I saying this enough? You go like, Steve, you said this over and over again. Why are you just repeating yourself? Okay? See how this works? That's why you're going to have that as a little group in your vocab cards with their own little rubber band around them. These are my ergon nouns. These are my second declension neuter nouns, right? Because they all behave the same way and I need to learn them together as a group. Yeah? Okay? So ergon. So the question is, how does ergon behave? Right? He's going to be our friend for the second declension neuter nouns, and we need to know how he behaves, because when we know how he behaves, then we know how all the words in that group behave. Because that's what we're doing. We're just gathering together words that behave the same way. Yeah? Okay, so how does ergon behave? That's the big question you're asking. And here's the answer. Here is your second declension neuter noun paradigm. And you know what? There's a lot of good news. There's some good news when it comes to ergon and our second declension neuter nouns. Because just like with the article, firstly, the nominative and accusative singular and the nominative and accusative plural are the same. That's nice. Remember that. You halved your learning. Just easy. And even better than that, the dative singular and the genitive singular and the dative singular, well, do they look familiar? Where have you seen those genitive singular and dative singular endings before? Eden? Logos. They're exactly the same endings as the logos endings that you just learned. And where have you seen the genitive plural and the dative plural endings from? Logos. They're exactly the same endings as we just learned for logos too. So really, this is nothing, right? This is for free. Okay? The genitive singular, dative singular, genitive plural, dative plural, they're exactly the same as logos. And then the nominative, accusative plural is exactly the same as the nominative plural. And the accusative singular is exactly the same as the nominative singular. So it's like you've got two things to learn. That's it. It's nothing. It basically comes to you for free. Ergon, ergon, ergu, ergo, erga, erga, ergon, ergois. Basically is free for you. ergon, ergon, ergu, ergo, erga, erga, ergon, ergois. This is how the second declension neuter nouns behave. Now, there are some of you who are sitting there right now and are thinking to themselves, what? How do I... Nominative is the subject. Steve just told me that. He said, find a nominative noun. When you found a nominative noun, you will know that it's the subject of the sentence. The subject of the verb. I've got it, good. And then if you find an accusative noun, then it's the object of the sentence. Okay, I've got it, that's good. Everything's right. I can do this. This isn't a problem at all. And then you looked up there and you went, the nominative singular is exactly the same as the accusative singular? Ah! The nominative plural is exactly the same as the accusative plural? Panic! And you're like, oh my goodness, how am I supposed to know? Is this the subject of the sentence or is it the object of the sentence? How am I supposed to know anything? We can't know anything in Greek anymore. Right? And you're panicking. Who's doing that? Who went down that road? Yeah, there's a few of you went down that road. I know it, right? Okay, don't panic. Don't panic. There's nothing to worry about here. All right? When you're out in the wild, very rarely, if ever, will this be confusing. Right? Context is your friend. Firstly, it'll be crystal clear if there happens to be another nominative noun in the sentence, for instance, that this neuter noun is actually the accusative noun. But generally speaking, context is your friend, right? It's not going to hurt you. You're not going to find it. There's a handful of times maybe in the New Testament we come across and we're like, actually, this is a little bit ambiguous. This could be the subject or it could be the object. We'll try and figure this out. It could work either way. Which way should it go? There may be a couple of times where that might happen, but very rarely. Context makes this not a problem at all. Solves it for you all the time. Not going to be a big issue. Okay? Okay, ergon, ergon, ergu, ergo, erga, erga, ergon, ergois. All right, we need to say that. We need to feel it roll off our tongues. We need to stand up and stretch our legs. We need to get this in our head. So up you get. Second declension neuter nouns. They all behave exactly like ergon. And ergon looks like ergon, ergon, hello, ergon, ergon, ergu, ergo, erga, erga, ergon, ergois. Let's say it again. Ergon, ergon, ergu, ergo, erga, erga, ergon, ergois. Excellent. All right, that's how the second declension neuter nouns behave. You can sit down. Now, we've got our little article. Oh, well, let me just compare and contrast for you, right? Just to show you what we just already realized, that there's a lot of similarities between those two, yeah? Between your logos paradigm and your ergon paradigm. A lot of similarities, so that's some good news for you, right? It's not too hard. Once you learn one, you've almost got almost all the rest of it given to you, yeah? Neuter's very easy to learn once you learn logos. But we're trying to fill out this article table as well, right? And so we need to know how, because our article has to agree with our noun in case, number, and gender. So if I've got a neuter noun out there, then I need to have a neuter article, right? We've got some of them we met yesterday, but we need to finish off the neuter nouns as well. And, well, what would you expect the genitive singular neuter noun to be after what we just looked at? The fact that the genitive ending for the neuter noun is the same as it is for the masculine noun. It's oo. And so is the dative, it's o. And the plural, they're both own. And they're both ois. So what would you expect the article to be for the neuter? You'd expect it to be to, to, wouldn't you? Expect it to be just like that because they're just the same. And tone, tois, right? You'd expect it to be that, wouldn't you? No, it is that. That's the good news, right? No buts. It's exactly what you want, right? So we know it. It's easy. It's easy. To, 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 tone, tois. That's our neuter article paradigm. To, tone, tois. Exactly what we hoped it would be. Exactly what we'd expect it to be. Double up learning. We get it for free. It's easy peasy. Nothing to worry about there. Nothing to worry about. Tone, tois. Okay, now, Greek likes agreement. Yeah? Greek likes agreement. So our article has to agree with our noun in case, number, and gender always, right? So let's have a bit of a look at this quickly here. And if I was to say the work, for instance, right? And I was to say it in all the different ways we could, nominative, singular, accusative, singular, go through the whole paradigm. It'd look like this. The work. Now, you don't have to write all this down. I'm just giving you an example. I'm just helping you work it through. But notice, let's start from the bottom because I can reach it. We've got tois, ergois. Looks the same. Agrees. Tone, ergone. Agrees. Ta, erga. Agrees. Ta, erga. To, ergo. To, ergo. To, ergon. To, ergon. Okay? So can you see now? It's getting a little bit funky. Do these agree? Yes, they do agree. Because they're the same case, number, and gender. Right? It's to, ergon. It's the nominative singular neuter article with the nominative singular neuter noun. But now agreement doesn't always mean they look the same. Okay, can you see that? This thing's got a little bit funky here. They agree. Yes, they do agree. They're the same case, number, and gender. But now they don't look the same. It's not ton ergon, it's to ergon. Because it's a neuter noun, right? And it takes a neuter article. And they're different, right? Okay, so agreement doesn't always mean that the article ending and the noun endings look exactly the same. Agreement means it's the same case, number, and gender between the article and the noun. Sometimes, like for instance, the nominative singular and accusative singular of the neuter noun, that's going to look a little bit different, but it's still going to agree, right? Still going to be the same case, number, and gender. Are we okay with that? We're going to let Greek get away with that? That's all right, is it? We can manage that? We can manage that. You can manage that, Melissa. Agreement doesn't always mean they're going to look the same. Agreement means same case, number, and gender. That's what agreement means. Yes, Jasmine? No? Ebenezer, did you have a hand up? No. Okay, cool. All right. Everybody good? So that's our neuter second declension nouns, right? And that's what we want to know. Nice and easy, actually, once you've got logos down pat, neuter pretty much comes to you for free. That's all the good news, and that's why we wanted to start with our neuter nouns as well, right? So there's happiness there. Nice and easy. So we go back to this table because we want to fill this table out a bit, right? Now we've got two groups. We've got our logos, second declension masculine nouns. Great, we've got them, we're happy. We've got our ergon, second declension neuter nouns. We've got them, good, we're happy. Now, we want to meet some feminine nouns. And actually the best way to do this, just in terms of ease of learning, is actually to jump up to what we call the first declension feminine nouns, that group up the top there. We're going to spend our time. Before you write that down, though. Put your hands down. Because before you write that down, just don't write it down for now. Because some of you are going to write that down and then you're going to get really upset at me. And you're going to blame me for ruining your pretty tables. Okay, so just hold off for a second. We will write it down, but just hold off for a second. Don't write it down because I don't want to ruin your pretty tables just yet, right? Okay? But we want to look at the first declension feminine nouns, right? And same thing that's happening, right? We're going to look at a group of nouns. We just call them the first declension feminine nouns, but they're just the nouns that all behave the same way, right? This is all we're doing. And they all behave like archae. Every noun that fits in this group behaves like archae. You get what we're doing. You see how this table works. You understanding this? Can you give me some acknowledgement that this makes sense rather than sitting there looking at me like... No, you can't. You're still just going to stand there. Like, this means yes, people. This means yes. Okay? Because I can't see your smiley faces, right? I can't see the acknowledgement in your mouth. Got to give me something here. All right. Okay, you know how this works, right? And we learned vocab words again. If you go over there, at the bottom of the page down there, 7 endings like archae on page 40. And, you know, they're there. So you don't just need to know that agape means love. You need to know that agape means love and that it belongs in the archae group on your table of nouns, right? Because every noun fits somewhere on that table. And you need to learn not just what it means, but where it belongs. So you could play pin the noun on the table, right? You can put it there, okay? That's what we're doing. So, archae. Question is, how does archae behave, right? Yes, another paradigm, I hear you say. Please, Steve, give us something more to learn. Okay, sure, I'm not going to argue with you. That's what you're going to say. Okay, so archae, how does archae behave? Here is our first declension feminine noun paradigm. Archae. Archae. First declension feminine nouns. Whew. This is not my fault, people. Don't blame me, blame Greek. Archae. Archae, archen, arches, archae, archai, archas, archon, archos. care, ken, kes, care, kai, cas, cone, kais. Exactly the same, yeah. But it'll sound exactly the same, but this is what's so key. This is what I said. The iota subscript's really important for the meaning of the word, right? Because the difference between the nominative singular being the subject of the sentence and being the indirect object of the sentence is that iota subscript. It's the only difference, yeah. Yeah. This is why it's really important. But care, it'll be pronounced exactly the same way. We don't pronounce iota subscripts. Yeah, now you're noticing a bit of a pattern here, perhaps around the genitive plural. It was logone, it's ergone, it's archone. Yeah, this own ending's becoming a little bit of a safe space for us. We're happy with that. Own, that's genitive plural, right? I'm just going to own that genitive plural ending, right? We're all over it. Okay? What else can I got nothing for you, just got to learn it. Well, we've got ton as our accusative singular, and now we've got arken, that nu kind of ending, as our accusative slingers as well, and we've got that same, or ois and ice. Yeah, I'm trying to throw you a few bones here, but okay. So it's a new paradigm. You've got to learn it, right? Okay, you don't just get this one for free. But yeah, arken, arcare, arken, arkes, arcare, archai, cas, archone, archais. Let's say it. We need to stand up, stretch. Come on. Get some energy into you. Stand up, stretch it out. Yeah, do Derek's thing. Stretch, arms up, stretch, everybody. Yes. Get some blood flowing to that brain of yours. Stretch out your limbs a bit. Okay, let's say it together. Arcare, arken, arkes, arcare, archai, archas, archone, archais. And again. Arcare, arken, arkes, arcare, archai, archas, archone, archais. All right, okay. We're going to work on it. We're going to get there. You can sit down. We're just getting to know it. It's just new to us. It's fresh. But we're going to get there, right? We're going to start it. It's going to get into our heads a little bit more. As I work throughout the whole weekend steadily and consistently on my Greek, it's going to come together, right? It's going to come together for you. Okay, so now the reason why we jump to the first declension, feminines, as opposed to the second declension, masculine and neuter, is because just like the logos gave us a masculine article, and like ergon gave us the endings to our neuter article, well, we've basically just learned the endings to our feminine article as well. Right? So let's go back to our article table now, and we can fill it out. It's full now. We've learned all 24 ways of saying the. Woohoo! Congratulations. You can say the in 24 different ways. John, look, I like it. That does deserve a clap, John. Look, okay, you're right. All right? 24 different ways of saying the. Now we've got them because the endings are the same as we just learned. Right? So you're getting double up. It was arcare, and it's air. And it was arken, and now it's ten. And it was arkes, and now it's tes. And it was arcare with the iota subscript. Now it's te with the iota subscript. And it was archai, and it's kai, and it's archas, and it's tas, and it's archone, and it's tone, and it's archais, it's tais. It's all there for you. Right? It's all free. Well, it's bog off. It's not free. It's going to take some work for you. But it's buy one, get one free. You learn one of those paradigms, you get the other one for free. Which is why I want you to learn the article, right? Because you can see that if you learn this article paradigm is so powerful. This article paradigm gives you so much information. This is your friend. Know it, love it, learn it. All right? Because if you've got this, then you've basically got Logos down pat, and you've basically got Archaea given to you for free, and you've basically got Ergon given to you as well, right? You've figured them all out if you know your article paradigm. But not only that, like we were talking about yesterday, if you know your article and your article agrees with its noun in case, number, and gender, then you don't even need to figure out some weird noun that you've never even known before or met before or anything like that. You know what case, number, and gender it is because you know the article. Yeah? So learn this paradigm. We'll learn all of them, but learn this one. Particularly, this one is massively your friend, okay? And we should know the article. Plus, it occurs more than any other word in the Bible, right? It's everywhere, all the time. You need to learn the article very, very quickly. It's going to come up all the time. And it's your friend, very much so. It's going to help you a lot. So we've got our feminine article now. We got it from our endings. It's all good. We're all there. And we've finished our definite article table. We've filled it out. And that is all good news. But, this time there is a but. Well, let's have a look quickly. Let's put them together for a second. Let's put our article together with our noun again. Just to quickly, just like we've done with the Logos and with Ergon as well. Just if I was to say the Archaea, if I was going to say the beginning, you can see how that's going to work, right? Article is going to agree with its noun, and it's going to look nice. We're back to the article agreeing and looking the same. Yeah? So that's all good. We're okay with that. We can make that work. That all happens. Now, it'd be nice if that was done and that was it, and we were finished with our first declension feminine nouns, and we could be all sorted. But unfortunately, life is not that simple. And neither is Greek. So what we've got going on here is that's all good, care, all good and well, no problems there at all for our first declension feminine nouns. That's right. If the stem of our first declension feminine noun ends in a consonant. Remember we looked at this the other day, stems and endings. So you got archaea. Stem, arc, ending, air. Yeah? And then we change our endings, N, S, then all the way down, right? Stem, arc, ending, air. Stem ends in a consonant. Happy days. If your first declension feminine noun happens to have a stem that ends in a consonant, like archaea, for instance, then it's going to behave exactly like archaea. No problems. If, however, the stem of your first declension feminine noun happens to end in a vowel or a row, then things change a little bit. And we got just a slightly different little paradigm for it. So we don't just have one first declension feminine paradigm, we've got another one. If the stem happens to end in a vowel or a row, things are going to change a little bit. They're going to be a little bit different. So stick with me, let's have a look at it here. It's not all bad news. Not all bad news. But it's not good news either. All right. Okay, it's not all bad news, not all bad news. Let's have a look. Here we go. Hemera, that's our favourite first declension feminine noun that ends in a row or a vowel. Hemera is our favourite one. And you can see it's not all bad news. Let's start at the bottom, because that's a lot of good news. I've got archai, hemerai. It's exactly the same. I've got archas, hemeras. Exactly the same. Archon, hemeron. Sweet. Archais, hemerais. It's exactly the same in the plural. No different whatsoever. Okay? Not a big deal. No difference at all. free. When I go up into the singular though, notice I've got archae and then I've got hemera. I've got archaean, hemeran. I've got archaeus, hemeras. I've got archae, hemera. What have I done? What's the difference between archaeus paradigm and hemeras paradigm? What's the change? It's not complicated. Speak up. Eden? That's all. Not complicated, simple. This one ends in an eta, right? The lengthened vowel, and this one ends in an alpha. Take the etas, swap them for alphas, and you've got the paradigm, right? So it's not a big deal, right? You're sitting there panicking, you go, oh my goodness, I can't believe you gave me another paradigm, Steve. I'm going to stop it. Stop! Right? But it's not a big deal. It's not a big deal at all. It's basically exactly the same paradigm, but just a little different, right? And the difference is easy. Just change the eta to an alpha, and you've got your hemera paradigm, right? Plural, it's exactly the same. So, I know, it's another paradigm, but it's not really. In terms of like, oh my goodness, I've got so much to learn, it's not like starting from scratch. They're pretty much exactly the same, right? It's just if the stem ends in a row or a vowel, then basically that long vowel, sound that we get for archae, the long vowel shortens to that sound from the alpha. That's all that happens. That's all we're doing. So this is not a big deal. So for our first declension, feminine nouns, well, we've got these two different ones now. Archae and hemera. They're pretty much exactly the same pattern. Just the vowel lengthening and shortening, that's all. The stem ending in a vowel or a row means that the vowel of the endings shortens a little bit. From the eta to the alpha, that's all. In the singular. No big deal at all. Okay, you got that down? Everybody coping with me? You're not too angry at me just yet? I said, don't blame me. Blame Greek. Okay, now, yeah. The perceptive amongst you might have noticed the alignment of that screen and might have just concerned themselves with the idea that there looks like there's room enough for another column there. No! Eden. Excellent observation. Okay, now we've got a genitive singular, hemeras, which is exactly the same as our accusative plural, hemeras. So, what am I going to do? Panic! Right? No, we can't know anything. How am I supposed to know if it's going to be a singular object or if it's going to be plural and possessive? How am I going to know? Panic! No, we're not going to panic. No panics at all. It's all okay. It's all good. How are we going to know that? Context is going to be our friend. That's the first thing. Number one, context is always going to be our friend. Yes, definitely. But there's another way that might help us too. Jasmine, what else might help us? Yes, that's true, but if it's Hemera and I just see Hemeras out in the wild, I can know that it's a vowel, but it's not going to help me distinguish between those two things, is it? Yeah, gift. What else might help me out in the wild? What about the article? Article's your friend. I keep telling you this, right? Because if I have the article, the accusative singular, what was that problem? Between the genitive singular, tes, and the accusative plural, tas. Article's going to agree with its noun in case, number, and gender, always. So we might have, ignore that for a moment, and imagine that was the Hemera table. We might have tas hemeras for the accusative plural, but for the genitive singular, we're going to have tes hemeras. It's going to agree, it's not going to look the same, but the article's going to give it away too. Yeah, you're right. So the article's going to be your friend out in the wild, and context is going to be your friend out in the wild. You might get tricked up, you might make a mistake, but if you're careful, all the clues will be there for you in the text. Yeah, that's not going to be a problem, but great observation. But as I said, for the more observant of you out there looks like there's enough space for another column. And it would be shame, wouldn't it, to waste all that space on our PowerPoint slide and to have everything badly aligned. So the bad news is that there's not just one for the consonant, and there's not just one for the vowels or rows, but if my stem happens to end in a kind of s-y kind of sound, like a x from the chi, that x-y sound, or a double sigma, s, if my stem happens to end in that, in my first declension feminine noun, then it does something a little bit different again. And so we need a whole other column. And right now you're thinking, stop it, Steve! Right? But the good news is if you look up on the screen, there's no room for any more columns. It's all okay. It's all okay. Don't panic. It's the last one. But let's have a look at this one here. Doxa is our friend in this group. Doxa is our favourite noun, our favourite word, our favourite noun in this group. It's doxa. And again, let's do it. Let's do it from the bottom, because that's. I got archais, hemerais, doxais. It's exactly the same. Got archon, hemeron, doxone. Exactly the same. Archas, hemeras, doxas. Sweet. Archai, hemerai, doxai. Okay, no problems. Plural, exactly the same. Nothing new to learn there. Don't get angry at me. Don't come to me and give me your whole, you made me learn 3 different paradigms. I did not. They're exactly the same in the plural, okay? Stop cheating, all right? Not a big deal, okay? Stop complaining. They're all the same. This one was with the lengthened vowel, the eta. This one was with the shortened vowel, the alpha. This one just jumps between the two of them, just for fun, right? Okay? So it's doxa, doxan, doxes, doxe. All right? Alpha, alpha, eta, eta. Doxa, 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 doxan, doxes, doxe. That's the only difference, right? These aren't 3 whole new paradigms, people. There's only one paradigm with a few little changes, tiny little changes. Not a big deal. Doxa, doxan, doxes, doxe. That's all we've done. So arche, all eta. Hemera, all alpha, and then doxa, alpha, alpha, eta, eta. Plurals, all the same across all of them. Now you can see why we group all of these words together as our first declension feminine nouns. Okay, they don't all behave exactly the same, but they're so close. You can see why we group them all together and call them all first declension feminine nouns. Now, in terms of grammar, there's nothing different in any of this stuff, right? Whether it's a masculine noun, a feminine noun, a neuter noun, it doesn't matter. If it's a subject, if it's in the accusative case. If it's a nominative case, then it's the subject. If it's the accusative case, then it's the object. If it's genitive, then I say genitive, you say of, right? If it's the dative, then it's to or for. That's the same, whether it's masculine, feminine, neuter, doesn't matter. They've just got different ways of telling you what cases they are, what numbers they are. And so we need to learn how to listen to them, how to get that information from them, how they behave. We need to learn how they behave so that when we're out in the wild, we'll know exactly what's going on. Okay, so let's think about the article with these feminine nouns then. Let me throw an article in there for you. Just the same table, I've just put an article in there. Don't write it all out again or anything like that. We're just looking at it, just thinking about it. So you can see the article is going to agree what we just talked about. A genitive singular, for instance, with hemeras is going to be tes hemeras. It's going to agree with it. Tes hemeras. It's going to agree, but it's going to have the eta there and the alpha there. And, it's going to be 10 doxan, for instance. Yeah? They're going to agree with each other. They might just not look the same. That's okay. We can agree with each other and look different. That's good. All right? Okay, this is agreement. This is what it's going to look like for the first declension feminine nouns with their article. Questions, comments, observations, thoughts? Hey again? Digestion. Yeah. Or indigestion. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. All right, so let's have a look at this. The article's going to agree with its noun in case, number, and gender. Just as an example for you. That is the hour, yeah? And what case, number, and gender is it? The hour, he hora. It's going to be nominative, singular, and feminine, yeah? Right? He and hora, they don't look like the same, but they agree with each other, yeah? In case, number, and gender, because that's the way it works. Because hora is one of those feminine first declension nouns that has a stem that ends in a rho. And so it behaves like hemera. Yeah? Now this is why, go back to page 40 and 41 of your duff. This is why when you're learning your vocab last night, you had 7 words that behave like arcare at the bottom of page 40, yeah? But then you had 8 words that behave like hemera, because they're just a little bit different. And then at the top of the next page, you've got just 2 words, doxa and thalassa, that behave like doxa, right? There's 3 different groups of first declension feminine nouns. So when we go back to our table, every Greek noun fits somewhere on this table, then actually our first declension feminine box looks something like that. Which is why I didn't want to write on it earlier, because you're going to write on it earlier and then you're going to be like, oh, now I've got to go back and screw it. You made my box look messy, right? Now you can write it, because now your box can look pretty, right? You've actually got 3 little boxes inside that first declension feminine box, right? So you don't just need to know that Adelphae means sister, but you need to know that Adelphae means sister, and it fits in that archaea box in the first declension feminine nouns. And you don't just need to know that, for example, ecclesia means assembly or church, but you need to know that ecclesia means assembly and church, and it belongs in that hemera box in our first declension feminine nouns. And you don't just need to know that thalassa means sea, but you need to know that thalassa means sea, and it belongs in that doxa box on our first declension feminine nouns, for example, right? You with me? Because every Greek noun fits somewhere on that table, and you don't just need to know the meaning of the word, you need to know where it belongs, what group it belongs to. You need to be able to place it on this table. What box should it be in? Have I said that enough? Hoping it's getting through to you. So our first declension feminine nouns, well, there's 3 different little boxes up there for you. Now, as I said, no new grammar here. If it's nominative, it's the subject. If it's accusative, it's the object. If it's genitive, then you're thinking of. If it's dative, you're thinking 2 or 4, right? No new grammar. It's just that the masculine's got a different way of showing you that. The neuters have got a different way of showing you that. The feminines have got a different way of showing you that. So we need to learn all their different ways so we can recognize them. That's what's going on here. That's what we're doing. Okay? All good. Well, sort of. You'll forgive me. We can still be friends? I hope so. Okay, now I know this seems like a lot, right? I do. Don't worry, you're going like, Steve just keeps doing this. What do you have any idea how hard this all is and stuff? Yes, I know how hard this all is. That's why I love it. No, not like that at all. Right? I do appreciate it. I understand, right? I get it. It's a lot to get your head around, and it's okay. I'm not expecting you to have your head around it all just yet, right? But we've got to get it in there, and we've got to start working on it. Remember, it's just like driving a car, okay? Just like driving a car. It's like crunching the gears and trying to not stall. That's where you're at the moment, okay? But I'm telling you, I promise you, I promise you, you need to trust me because I love you, and I've done this plenty of times before. Today's hard Greek is 3 weeks' times easy Greek. Right now, you're freaking out about this, and you go, how am I ever going to get this into your head? In 3 weeks' time, you'll be like, I wish we were back in summer school. Summer school was so easy. Those glorious days of summer school when everything made so much perfect sense, right? Because today's Greek is hard Greek is 3 weeks' times easy Greek. And it'll be like that. I promise you it will be. If you just put in the yards, put in the effort, get this stuff under your belt. It will work. It will get there. It will make sense. It will all come together for you. If you stick at it and work hard at it, it will get there. I promise you. Okay. Now, how are we going for time here? We're doing all right. Let's just go back to this table for a second. Remember we saw this yesterday? Every Greek noun has these 3 characteristics, right? They've all got case, they've all got number, they've all got gender. Case, number, and gender. We've learned some masculine, feminine, and neuter nouns. We looked at singular and plurals. And we've got our cases, our nominative and accusative. This is what our table looked like yesterday, right? So I'm just telling you, we're filling it out, right? Because we had nominative, accusative, we had a few question marks there, and we had dative down like kind of shy, and because we weren't really looking at it. We touched on it yesterday, but we didn't really. But now, we've filled that in, right? We've got nominative, accusative, genitive, and dative, and we know what they mean, don't we? Nominative means subject. Accusative means Object. When I say genitive, you say of. And dative, when I say dative, you say to or for. Right? Okay? We know what they mean. And we know now how the first declension feminines, second declension masculines, and the second declension neuters are going to tell us about it, right? But there's another question mark here. That's a nervous little giggle there, Melissa. Right? There's another question mark here. Okay? But all of our paradigm tables and everything, look, I'll go back here to my paradigms. There doesn't seem to be any room to fit any other question marks in there, any other cases in there. And that's right, there isn't any room. And because there's no room, we can't do anything about it. So if it doesn't fit on the slide, then we just can't know it. So don't worry about it. Just kidding. All right? Okay, there is one other case here. There is one other case that you need to be aware about. And the good news is, there's a lot of good news when it comes to this other case. The good news, the main important part and piece of good news that you want to hear right now is that I don't want you to learn anything about this case. Yeah, that's the kind of good news you want to hear, right? Okay? You don't have to worry about this case. The case, you have to know it. You have to know that it exists. I don't want to leave question marks there, right? We need to hear about it. So let's meet it. It's called the vocative case. The vocative case. So we're going to introduce each other politely, but we're not really going to get to know the vocative case too much. And there's a couple of reasons why. The first reason why, the main reason why, is that the vocative case is very rare in the New Testament. Compared to the other cases, it's almost insignificant. It's there. There are vocative case nouns in the New Testament, but there are so few of them that it's really not worth getting ourselves worried about and learning them, right? Off by heart in our paradigms or anything like that. Vocative case exists, but it's very, very rare. That's the first reason why we're not going to do anything about it. The second reason why we're not going to worry about learning anything about it is that when it exists, it's really obvious that it is. Because the vocative case is the case of address. The vocative case is the case of address. When I'm speaking to somebody and I say their name. All right? When I say, hey, Michael, then I'd be using the vocative case. And Michael would be in the vocative case, right? So we can imagine that this comes up sometimes in the New Testament, can't you? You can imagine that someone in the crowd might call out to Jesus, Lord, save me, right? Well, if that's the case, then Lord would be in the vocative case, right? Because it's the case of address. When you address someone, when you call out their name, it's the vocative case. So you can imagine, as I said, plenty of times in the New Testament when that might happen, but it's really in terms of the amount of times and compared to the other cases, it's not worth worrying about. And it's pretty obvious when it does, yeah? Because it's someone talking to somebody and addressing them. So that's not hard to figure out, right? And it tends to look like this. It tends to look like an eater. So for instance, if I had, Lord, save me. I've got kurios, which means Lord, yeah? And if I change that into the vocative case, then I'd have kurie. Kurie. All right? There's epsilon at the end of the vocative case. But really, that's about as much as I want you to know about the vocative case, right? What I want you to do is I want you to be reading through the New Testament sometime in your life. Like, towards the end of the year, you're going to be reading the New Testament in Greek. That's what you're going to be doing. That's our goal, right? That's what we're heading towards. You're going to be picking up the Bible, you're going to be reading the New Testament, and being an awesome Greek scholar and a diligent Greek student that you are, you're not just going to be randomly looking at words that you know and trying to put them together in sentences. You're going to be working hard. You're going to look at every noun. You're going to make sure you know what case it is, and you're going to use that information to form your sentences and figure it out. And I want you to, I can imagine this time in the future when you're reading through your Greek New Testament and you come across a vocative noun somewhere in the New Testament. Kurie. And you're going to look at it and you're going to go, that doesn't fit any of my paradigms. I'm not familiar with that ending. What's going on? This is someone speaking to somebody. I remember. I remember Steve saying something about that during summer school. It was some case, it was the vocative case, that's right. And I remember Steve saying to us, we don't need to know anything about it. But there it is out in the wild. I can imagine that moment in my life. When that moment comes, it's a glorious moment, right? You can send me a text. You can say, Steve, I just had a vocative moment. And I'll be like, so proud. My little students. Right? Okay? That's about it. That's about all we need to know about vocative case. It exists. Yes, it does. It's the case of address. When you're calling out to people, you're talking to people, you use the vocative case. And it often finishes in an A. But apart from that, that's enough for the vocative case. That's all we're going to talk about the vocative case ever again. Let us not speak about it ever again. That's plenty for the vocative. Any questions about the vocative case or anything else that we looked at so far? Yeah, Jonathan.
Would the vocative case change the article?
That's a good question. I don't know. I don't think there's a vocative article. But I'm just shooting from my hip on that one. I don't know if that's, I don't think so. I suspect the answer to that question is no, but I'm not 100% certain. I don't think there's a vocative article. So when a vocative case is used in the case of address, there won't be an article before the name. But that's just me thinking off the top of my head. Usually when I say stuff off the top of my head, I get in trouble. And then someone proves me wrong. Yeah. And plus also, there's always an exception to the rule, But, yeah, that's my gut feel, yeah. Yes, Jasmine. Yeah. Which one? No. Yeah, no. Don't worry about it. Forget it. Remember, that was for verbs. That was for our EO verbs. Yeah. Yeah. Don't worry about that. Okay. How are we doing? We're doing all right? Freaking out a little bit about all the paradigms I'm supposed to learn, and there's way too much to get in my head, and I'm never going to be able to do this, and what on earth did I come to college for? And this is way too much information. No, it's not. Don't panic, right? I know. Listen, they call this language intensive for a reason. Because it's intense, okay? I realize that, right? I get it. It's okay. It's not always going to be like this, right? It's not always going to be like this. These first couple of days, these first week and a half are full on, right? But you're doing well, and it's okay. We're doing it well, and we're getting our head around it. So what we're going to do is going to stand up, have a bit of a stretch. Just stand up, stretch, throw yourself around, walk around a bit, throw some water on your face, wake up a bit. It's hot. That doesn't help. Yes, brother.
Is it possible for somebody to get these tables from you, maybe?
what we want to do is we want to spend a bit of time now, just between now and lunch, taking things a little bit slowly and trying to put all this stuff into practice, right? Because you just get head blown up full of paradigms, you're dying, right? You want to use it. And you want to use all this stuff, and the more you use it, the more you learn it, the more you get to know it, the more you understand it, right? Okay? So we're going to spend we're going to like half an hour or something like that to do some good practice and try and get our head around this. Make sure we're getting our head around how to translate and work on it. So you want to be on page 41. Page 41 of Duff. And I'm looking down the bottom there. Exercises section A. And I'd love you to try and do them. I'd go question 1, question 2, then go to question 5 and question 6. But then if you're super speedy and you've got time, then go back and do 3 and 4 as well. But do 1, 2, and then do 5 and 6. And then if you've got time, go back and do 3 and 4. Okay? Again, this doesn't have to be it's not an exam. It doesn't have to be super solemn and super serious. I'll walk around. Put your hand up if you've got any questions. Work on it. I'd love to say get together with the person next to you and do it together, but we're not allowed to do that. So I'm resisting the temptation. Yeah? 1, 2. Do question 1 and 2 first. Do question 5 and 6 after that. And if you've got time, then do 3 and 4. By the way, a couple of you just asked me about the PowerPoints. They are up on Google Classroom. If you haven't figured out how to find them yet on Google Classroom, then ask me or ask one of your colleagues, one of your friends and stuff like that. They are there. I put them up every afternoon. The day 1 and day 2s are up there. This afternoon I'll put up day 3. It's my intention to do it every afternoon. Please forgive me. I am a human being and I fail and I forget sometimes to do what I'm supposed to do. So if you're ever looking for something and it's not there, please don't feel bad. Please send me an email and say, hey, Steve, have you forgotten to put up the PowerPoint? Can you put it up for us or something like that? Can't find it. Just to remind me. I would love you to do that. Don't do it at 1:01 and say, there you go. But if it's not there by tonight, send me an email to remind me or something like that. But generally, it's my intention to do it every afternoon and upload it for you once we're done. So. common troubles that we're coming across as I walk around the room, and that's all good. This is why we do these practices. Nothing wrong with making mistakes. Mistakes are how you learn. This is good. Okay, we want to finish up in time for lunch, so let me just go through this one quickly, because there's a couple of things that I'm noticing from people, and it's worthwhile. Let's put them all out there, and let's try and figure it out. I'm trying to translate a Greek sentence. So, what's the first thing that I do? Find a verb. That's the first thing I do, always. So, someone help me out here. Tokozani. Give me a verb. Which one? Postuo. Looks like a verb to me. I'm going to put it at the end of my sentence. There it is. It's at the end of my sentence, a verb. I'm going to underline it. Is that the only verb? No. There's another verb. What is it? Yeah. Legai looks like another verb as well. You're right. Now I've got two verbs. Okay, now I've got a problem. Okay? Because every sentence, every clause can only ever have one verb in it. You can't have two verbs in one clause. That's a problem for you. Right? So what we want to do is we want to break down our sentences always to make sure that there's only one clause in one verb in each clause, right? You can't have two verbs in one clause. That's a real problem, okay? So we're going to break it down, and how are we going to do that? What's going to help us break it down? What's in this sentence that helps separate those two verbs from each other? The punctuation, yeah? Because here, do you notice the little dot at the top is a semicolon, isn't it? So what I'm going to do, I'm going to take my pen, when I'm doing my translation, I'm going to break up my sentence. Yeah? I'm going to put a big fat line on those punctuation there. It's going to break up my sentence. And what that's going to do is it's going to help me, it's going to help my mind go, I'm going to deal with this bit first, and then I'm going to look at that bit second. Yeah? Because what I saw a fair few of you do is take some bits from this and put them over here, and take some bits from here and put it over there. Because what we did is we just went and said, I know what that word means, 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 I know what that word means. Let me just put it together in a sentence that makes sense to me in English. We don't do that, right? I told you all want to do it. I've seen lots of you doing it as I've been walking around. That's not what we want to do, right? So what we want to do is if we've got bigger, if our sentence has got two verbs, if our sentence is more than just one little sentence, one little clause, then we want to break it up into its clauses, and then we deal with one clause at a time. You with me? So let's look at the first clause then, and just deal with it first, so that I go to my verb first, always. Now, my verb here. What's the vocab word hiding behind it? Lego. And what's the ending tell me? It's a third person singular. So I'm going to translate this as he, she, or it says or speaks. Okay. Now I'm asking myself, the question I'm asking is, does the sentence tell me who he, she, or it is? What am I asking? How do you know that it does that? Because it's a sister? No, that's not why. How do you know that the sister is the one speaking? Because she's in the nominative case, exactly. It's a nominative noun, right? The sister is a nominative noun, which means if it's nominative, then it's the subject of the verb, right? It's the one who does the action, okay? And it's the sister. There were a lot of you who wrote the brother. Got tripped by that, right? Adelphos, Adelphae. Don't get tripped up. Sister, brother. Okay, so now I know it's the, because there's an article. The sister says, okay, that's my sentence so far. I've worked on that. Okay, now I come over here and I go, what case is this? Because I've got to ask what case it is. That's what we do. We've got to figure out what case it is, because when I figure out what case it is, then I know exactly what role it has in the sentence and how I'm going to translate it. Right? So what case is this? It's a little bit confusing. This makes me think it's genitive, doesn't it? But what about this? That makes me think it's dative, doesn't it? Now, article always agrees with its noun in case, number, and gender. Always. Always, always. So what is it? Is it dative or is it genitive? Who says dative? Hands up. Who says genitive? Hands up. No, 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 no. You have to vote, people. Right? You don't get to sit there with your hands down. This is an Australian democracy, right? You'll get fined if you don't vote. Who says dative? Hands up. Who says genitive? Hands up. Genitive's in the minority. The datives have got it. It's a democracy. Dative wins. No, it's not because you voted. It's just, it is the dative. Now, why is it? Okay? This is what I was saying to you yesterday afternoon, remember? Names are messed up, right? Particularly Jesus, right? He's messed up. It looks genitive. It does look genitive. You're right, it looks genitive, but the declension of Jesus is a mess. It's all over the place. It's really hard to figure out. It's not worth knowing because we almost always have an article before Jesus. And if you know the article, then you know what case Jesus is, because the article always agrees with its noun in case, number, and gender. So this is messed up, and I don't know what it means, but I know for certain that that's the dative article. That's the nominative, it's the masculine dative singular article, right? So if that's dative, then I don't care what that looks like, I know it has to be dative. Right? Because the article always agrees with its noun in case, number, and gender. That's why learning the article is so helpful for you, right? Can you see why? Because you can look at that and get confused, but that will sort it out for you, always. Article, that's dative. So that has to be dative. Now, if it's dative, then how do I translate it? 2 or 4, don't I? 2 or 4 is how I translate datives. So, the sister says, to Jesus, comma, semicolon. Okay, now I've dealt with the first part, I can go and look at the second part. I've got, well, there was a comma there too, wasn't there? All right? I've got this courier. What's that look like? What's the vocab word hiding behind there? Kurios. So, and it behaves like a logos word, doesn't it? Kurios. So logos, logon, logu, logo, logois, logon. I never got that. So what are you thinking, Eden? You're thinking vocative. You're thinking, I remember Steve said something about people talking to people and using their name and calling them and their address, and it had something to do with epsilons at the end. That's vocative, yes. The sister says to Jesus, this is what she says. Lord, comma, there's a comma here. Now I've got my verb, pistuo. Pistuo means I believe, simple. Out in the wild, first person singular. I believe. The sister says to Jesus, Lord, I believe. Note, Greek doesn't have speech marks. right? We got to put them in English. We have them in English, but Greek doesn't have speech marks. It's got a way of doing that. We'll get to that later. But at the moment, it doesn't actually have speech marks ever, right? And so we got to add them in. Now, we've got 30 seconds before lunch. It's okay to get things wrong, right? Getting things wrong is good, because getting things wrong, you learn. That's what we're here to do. It's like your second day learning Greek, right? If every single one of you got absolutely everything 100% right, I'd have a class full of freaks, right? Okay? It's okay. So tell me, this is what I want to know. Who got something different to the sister says to Jesus, Lord, I believe, initially when they did it? I mean, I've gone around and spoken to a few people. But who got something different to the sister says to Jesus, Lord, I believe? Who got different stuff? Show me. More than that, got different stuff. I know. I went around looking at it. Yeah, put your hands up. It's fine. There's nothing wrong with getting things wrong in here. It's good to get things wrong. You learn. Okay, help us learn. What did we get wrong? What did we do?
So I just started with by saying
The brother. Okay, got that trip. Yep. Okay.
and then I forgot the punctuation. So I also just translated initially, and I mixed it up.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. So you did a little bit of the. Let's just find words we know and put it together in a sentence that makes sense. Yeah. Yeah. We don't do that, do we, people? Yeah. Okay. And Artie, what else?
Instead of looking the case number, I made up words just to make it sound good.
Okay. I told you, didn't I? I said to you all, I can read your mind and I know you're going to do this. And you all went, no, I'm not going to do it. And now here you are doing it. Jotham, what did we do wrong?
I didn't see the punctuation. I assumed a genitive case,
Uh-huh.
and in trying to make sense of it in English, I did Lord Jesus instead of Jesus.
Yeah, okay, so that's the punctuation issue as well. You jumped that over the other side of the punctuation mark. Okay, you can see you brought it over the fence there, but this wall's here to divide that. Yeah, cool, awesome. Getting things wrong is great, because when you get things wrong, you learn stuff. Yeah. Takazani.
I didn't know like I should be said. Translated
Said. Yeah, okay, cool. Well, said is a past tense, isn't it? And at the moment, we're still just living in the present, all right? And we're just going to stick with that for the moment, just for another couple of days. We'll get there. Before the end of next week, we'll be in the past, but we need to just stay here for the moment, all right? Okay, it's lunchtime. You're doing great. It's awesome. Let's come back at 2 o'clock. We won't be long, I promise. We won't be long this afternoon. And, you know, in another world, I could have squeezed everything in before lunch, but I thought if I tried to squeeze one more bit into your head before lunch, someone was going to jump out of their chair and smack me. And so I didn't want that to happen. So let's go and have a break, have lunch, and I'll see you at 2 o'clock, and we won't be long, I promise.